Okay, folks, pay attention. We have reached a temporary impasse. I love temporary impasses. It makes my mind think, makes the old gray matter juice begin to bubble. If everything was so easy all the time, it's just my old gray matter would just lay there half asleep. But let's take a look at what we've done so far, and then we'll go into our impasse. Last time we went ahead and installed our 151 watt resistor in. I have colored it orange. I meant to do this in the last video and I didn't get around to it. And we also got our 0.0005 Aerovox capacitor colored in, and we showed that we have continuity from the grid cap connector on top all the way through the coil down to the bottom. Now that we've done. So now it's time to check out this resistor, as I said. Now I was going to have it all mounted and all figured out for you and all that jazz, but I ran into a problem I thought maybe you'd like to see first. And I have not figured out the problem. We'll have to do it later, but I want to show you what it is. This is the kind of stuff that can really blow the mind of a new person, in particular when you can't see these particular components, because in this case they're inside this dumb can. All right? It makes it hard enough for a new fella or a new person, new woman doing this kind of work, and there are ladies out there that do this work, trust me. It's kind of hard sometimes on these schematics to do the work when you can see the components in the chassis, but when you can't see them and you're kind of like trying to visualize them, it makes it even more difficult. So let's go on. Today what I'd like to do is I'd like to color in this resistor as being installed off of pin 4, and I'd also like to color in this line going all the way down here to the grid cap connector on the ABC. So let's go to pin 4 of our second detector right here. Now we should have a resistor connected there. On the other side of the resistor we should have a wire running up into the coil. I think we covered that last time. We should also have a wire going off of pin 4 into the can to a capacitor that we can't see. And we should also have a wire coming off of pin 4 again, going up into the can, into a 100 microhenry coil that we can't see. So we should have, right now, we should have 1, 2, 3, and this would be 4, the resistor, all connected on pin 4. We should have 4 items there, a couple of wires, a resistor, and a wire running, well actually 3 wires. We should have 1 wire going to the cap, 2 wires, number 2 going to the coil, and we should have the 3rd wire running down to the grid cap connector, and then a resistor. 3 wires and a resistor. Let's see what we actually have. Here we go. We have pin 1, pin 2, pin 3. We should have 3 wires and a resistor. I mean pin 4 rather. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our resistor. That takes care of that. We have 2 wires going here. 1 here and 1 here. Right there. Baby right there. Both soldered there. You get a little closer, and you'll see that both of those wires go up into this bundle, this mess of wire going into this can. Well, so far so good. One will go to the capacitor and one of them will go to the coil. Now we don't know which is which. We're going to check out one of those in a few minutes. The other wire is right here, and that wire is the 3rd wire, and it goes up through the chassis. See if I can find exactly, right there is where it goes up through the chassis, up through that hole. It goes up to a grid cap connector to the 24 ABC tube on the top of the chassis. So what we need to do first, let's do the easy stuff first and build our confidence. Yeah, let's take our multimeter and check resistance to make sure we have continuity between the grid cap connector and pin 4 right here. That'll show that that wire, it has no breaks in it, okay? You got to double check and triple check everything, all right? Let's get that set up with the multimeter. I've got the negative lead of my multimeter connected to that grid cap connector, to the ABC tube, which by the way would be this tube right here. Now we'll take the red lead, my positive lead, and we will touch it to pin 4. Let me lean this up where we can see a little better. Alright, I will touch it to pin 4 right there, where this is the wire going out to the grid cap connector. Okay, we're going to touch it right there. I'm going to take a look at our multimeter, see if we get any reading at all. Here we go. Get down in there. Come on, get out of the way, wires. Get out of the way. Alright, let me get this out of the way. Here we go. Alright, we have good continuity. We have good continuity. So that wire is good. Son of a gun, I'm ready to put in some orange. So I'm not going to forget it this time. I got so excited last time. You know how it is. Sometimes you get my age, you get excited over the smallest things. Alright, what we're going to do, we have continuity from this side of the resistor, actually this side of the coil. So we're going to come down. Let me make sure I got this wire. Yeah, no, it's from this side of the resistor. Sorry about that. So we're going to go across here to that side of the resistor. And then we're going to come all the way down here like this to the grid cap. Isn't that cool? Another orange wire in. Man, we're running out of stuff here. The next item on the agenda is right here. Last time we checked from the resistor in the last video. We checked from the resistor up through the coil. We checked into the grid cap. So and it ohmed out. So let's go ahead and color that in with some orange also. We're good down to the resistor. That far. So far, so good. Now what I want to do, by the way, pin 4 is also good down to the resistor. Let's get that down there. We know that pin 4 is good. And we know that one wire goes into the can from the capacitor. And we know another wire goes into the can. I mean, it goes from pin 4, goes into the can to the capacitor, and the other wire comes across and goes up here. But we don't know which is which. So we'll color that. So far, so good. We haven't been able to do anything with these green things, the two caps and the coil. I'm going to try to do something with the coil. So here's the deal. I should be able to place my multimeter lead right here on the opposite side of the Airline mica cap from pin 2 on the 24 tube. Okay, now pin 2 of the 24 tube is right there. There's pin 1, pin 2. Now the opposite side would be over here, the opposite side of that cap. This is one side down here, the other side is here. And of course, where does it go? Into that can again, that wire. All right. I should be able to put my multimeter lead right there and then measure over here to pin 4 and get some continuity, or to this side of that resistor right there, whichever. Let's get that set up. Alright, I've got my negative lead clipped to the opposite side of the Airbox mica cap. And now what we're going to do is touch, let me get this lamp out of here, I think it's a little bit too bright. We're going to touch my multimeter right here where these two lead. Now let's get the light back. It's not quite the way I like it. There we go. These two wires coming in out of this can going to pin 4. We should get a continuity reading. Come on, baby. Touch. And we do. 3.7 ohms. Okay? Good. But there's a problem with that. Which one of these wires gave me the continuity? Was it the cap or was it the coil? Because they're both attached at the same place. Well, there's only one way to find out. We're going to have to extract the solder and test each one of these wires individually. Individually. We have to separate them so we know which one goes to the coil. The one that's left will, of course, go to the capacitor, okay? All right. Let me extract the solder with the old Hacko FR300. Well, here we go, folks. We have our two wires have been disconnected from the pin 4. This is the resistor wire. The resistor with the long wire. Matter of fact, that wire is so long, I think what I'm going to do I'm just going to snip that off. We don't need that wire anymore anyway. It's too long. Too long. Let's get rid of that thing. We don't need that in our way. I'm trying to do measurements here. I got no time for long wires to get in my way. That's the resistor that was hooked to it. And the last wire is the grid cap wire that goes up through the chassis to the grid cap. Now this is kind of interesting because this will give me a golden opportunity to get rid of this wire and replace it with some nice white wire to go up to the top of the chassis and connect onto the grid cap connector. Yeah, we'll get rid of this old junky crap right here. But right now, we're focusing on something else. We want to know which of these two wires goes to that coil. Now, as a refresher, I'm going to go over it one more time. I have my multimeter connected to this side of the mica cap. Okay? That side of the mica cap would be right there. There's where I have my multimeter connected. Now, I'm looking for the wire that's connected up here to pin 4, that was connected to pin 4. I need to find out which one of those two wires is either the cap or this one. I'm looking for this one. All right. So let's touch one wire and then touch the other and see what happens. Get our multimeter over here. Let's find out which one is the coil. If I don't get a reading on either one of them, what that means is the coil is bad. The coil is open. Okay. So here we go. Let's try the, let me turn on the light, maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay, here we go. Let's try the bottom one here. No reading. All right, let's try the top one. There it is right there. There's our reading right there, 5.4. All right, it's the top wire. This is our coil right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label those with a couple pieces of tape. I'm going to label it as coil, since it's the only coil in the whole circuit. I'll know which one that is. And the other one I'm going to label as C4, because that's the wire going into C4. And then we'll get back to our impasse I mentioned in the beginning of the video. We just took the reading and proved that our coil has continuity. That's kind of a big load off my mind. No big deal really. I've already looked around eBay. There's plenty of 100 100 microhenry coils everywhere, different sizes, different current, handling capabilities. It wouldn't have been a big deal. But that's kind of nice to be able to just color that in there. Look how much orange. I mean, we're almost done with this whole setup except for the resistor, which I could color in right now if I want, because I do have the resistor and I'll be soldering it to pin 4, but we'll do it when the time comes. But this capacitor, the second wire that I desoldered from pin 4, it does in fact go into the can, and I'll show it to you right there. That's it right there. It says C4. I got it labeled. It goes up into that mass of wiring, up into this can. Now it's supposed to go through the capacitor and come out of the can. There is our impasse. Where is it coming out of the can? Oh my goodness. Alright, the last thing for this video will be I need to connect the bottom of this coil to this side of the resistor, and then I need to run a wire all the way down and connect it to the right hand side of the 670 ohm resistor. I have a 680 ohm resistor in there, but I need to connect that just like you see it. It's no problem. Once again, it's a long piece of wire all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, and then into the coil, and then of course into the resistor. So I should be able to solder these two together and then solder a wire down. So that's exactly what I have done. Let's take a look at it. Let me get a light over here so we have lots of light on the old subject. Get a zoom going here. Okay. I took the resistor and I soldered it to the pin 4 on that tube, on the 24, the second detector tube. And then the wire coming out of the coil right here, I soldered the two together, and then I put some heat shrink over the top. Then I put another layer of heat shrink over the top, nice thick stuff, and ran a wire, you know, when I soldered a wire to where these two were soldered together, you know, just tapped it in, and then brought it around, and I soldered it to the right hand side of the 670 ohm resistor. In this case, it's 680 ohm, okay? So that has been done. One other thing I did, I took the old grid cap wire that ran up through the chassis here, you know, and I put a nice new wire on there. So later on, when we go back to the top of the chassis, I'll take the old grid cap, in the meanwhile, clean it up, you know, soak it in some rust remover and some, you know, lacquer thinner, stuff like that, get the old nasty paint and crap and rust off it. And we'll solder it to the other end of this wire once we get to the top of the chassis. So we've got 3 wires now that have been, the 3 things that have been fixed up. We got this, we got that, and we still haven't soldered in the coil wire that I marked as coil. Got it run here, one of these right there is the coil wire. I haven't got that soldered up yet. We'll take care of all that once we open this up. And one last thing, and then we'll call it quits. 2 last things, and we'll call it quits. I still have not been able to locate that wire coming out of that can from that resistor that's inside, or that capacitor that's inside there. And right here, this capacitor apparently is not inside the can as I had previously thought. So let's go ahead and color in some orange, and then we'll go ahead and see you in the next part. Let me see, what I have done is we have installed the resistor right there. Now we got to bring, and it's connected to the coil. All right. Now we bring it all the way down, all the way down. We got so much orange here, I'm going to have to go out and buy another pen. All the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down to here. To right there. Okay? All the way down. Where am I in the camera? Come on, stay in the camera, boy. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. To right there. All right. The only thing left, 2 capacitors. The one in the can and the one out of the can we can install it any time we want now. Well, that's it, folks. Until next time, this is John.